Breakthrough!
Hi everyone, Beebs here, welcome back to the channel. Bit of a different video today in that this is not really a lesson per se, although you could learn the exercise that I'm doing. What I wanted to do in this video is just to talk about a subject that should be kind of obvious really, but also show my working out and show you a moment that I caught on camera where I made a bit of a breakthrough with my legato technique. Quick little plug, if you're enjoying the content and the videos I'm producing on the channel, then maybe think about liking, subscribing, ringing the bell. And also I've got Solo 2.0, which is my fretboard visualization app I developed with my good friend Tom Quayle, and the Ultimate Fretboard Visualization course just been released. This is a video course that Tom and I put together, teaching you the 2-point system for visualizing the fretboard the way that we do, and a structured guide for practicing with the Solo app. So if you want to check out any of those, you think that might be interesting, the links are in the description below, and it would be much appreciated. And the main purpose of this video really is just to tell you and to remind myself, I'm actually talking to myself in this as well, of all the benefits of recording and filming your practice sessions all the time as much as you can. So in this video, what I was trying to do was develop the individual finger control within my legato, my hammer-ons and pull-offs. And I was just doing a very unmusical chromatic exercise on these three adjacent top three strings. The other thing I was trying to do was to play 4 notes on a string, but feel triplets. Play it as 16th note triplets, but placing 4 notes on the string, which is really quite hard to do and develop the control for, especially between these 2 fingers here I was finding. And so what happened, I was just filming it on my little Sony ZV-1, and I had the screen flipped out, turned around, and I wasn't looking at my hand, I was looking at the screen itself. And as I was going through the exercise, I noticed this like slight change of movement in the placement of my palm. And you'll see it as I go through and I discover this thing in real time as I find it and talk about it in the video. But the reason I noticed it was because I was watching the screen and I just saw my hand shift ever so slightly as I was doing the exercise. This was a massive breakthrough because it really did like put this last little piece of the puzzle together when it come to separating and developing this finger independence. So I'm really, really pleased that happened. It was a stroke of luck really, and it just reminded me of just, yeah, you should be filming all the time and doing this. As I'm filming it, there's no view for me making a video or ever showing this. It's literally me talking to myself to remind myself what was happening as I watched it back, as I was so excited about this little corner that I'd turned in real time. Okay, so yeah, let's watch this little clip together.
Breakthrough! Okay, this just happens to be recording, so interestingly, this whole thing with the 3rd and 4th finger, I've just noticed it purely because I was staring at the screen while I was playing. So I was having this issue, wasn't I, where when I was coming up to the turnaround, pulling off here between the 4th and 3rd was problematic, and even starting the lick, sometimes starting it was a problem. So there's this timing issue pulling off from the pinky to the 3rd, and I think I've just discovered what it was. So I've noticed that my hand, when I'm starting and when I get to that turnaround, sort of comes up a bit like this. So here, and just a moment ago I was staring at the screen and I just happened to put my hand down here to do it. And this then, the control between these suddenly just leapt forward. As opposed to here. Because then when the hand's compressed up a bit more closer to the palm's compressed up a bit closer to the side of the neck, that motion then becomes harder. So I think that is going to solve it. So let me just put the drum again. That feels so much better.
Yeah, that's really funny watching that back because it puts me in the moment when that happened. As I sound really silly and stupid and excited, but yeah, it was a great moment as I realised what was happening, and it happened to be recording. And I don't think, and another point on this is that I don't know if I would have made that discovery if I wasn't watching myself in third person. So because I wasn't looking at my hand on the fretboard, I was looking at my hand on the camera screen, on the flip out camera screen. And it was, I believe it's because I was watching that I noticed where that movement come, as I described, where my hand had slipped up a little bit, contracting in and preventing the pinky and the third. So I think I only really noticed that because I was looking at the screen from that angle, and I saw my hand shift, an arm shift, realized as it happened on my person, in my body, that I'd done it, and connected the dots like that. So yeah, it's really reminded me, the whole thing, just to turn the camera on, eat more, even if I'm not going to be posting a video or sharing it, just use it for my own development. I then took this a little bit further after I'd kind of cracked this nut and turned this corner, and then I developed a full-on practice session that I filmed. And this, again, just to give you a window into how I might take something that I'm struggling with and then develop it and then work through it in this practice session. So I thought you might find that interesting as a sort of real world example of the benefits, the practical benefits of filming yourself that occurred in real time whilst I was working on something. Thanks so much for watching. If you've liked the video, do hit the like button. Maybe think about subscribing and ringing the bell for notifications. Thanks to you all for checking out the Solo app as well, Solo 2.0, the update. Really thrilled with the feedback and response to that, and the Ultimate Fretboard Visualization course. Thank you to everyone that's been checking that out. Tom and I released that recently as the companion to Solo 2.0. If you really want to dig deep and learn the 2-point visualization system that Tom and I use, then that's the best way to do it, really, in conjunction with the new Solo update. All the links to those things are in the description below. Until next time, I will leave you with this long form practice session where I'm working on this rather tricky exercise. Anyway, hope you enjoy it. Hey everyone, Beebs here. Different location, I'm just in my kitchen getting ready for the day. But welcome back to my guitar channel and to what is going to be part lesson, but also probably just showing you what I'm working on. Today we're going to be looking at a series of exercises I've been developing to increase your finger independence with even notes per string whilst playing and feeling odd subdivisions. I'm also going to make a point to film the warm-up process for shooting this video. Frustratingly, this exercise requires a good chunk of warm-up time to get into the zone and the flow state for this technical approach and for feeling these subdivisions. So it's not made any better by this time of year with the weather, how cold it is. So just going to make some coffee, and yeah, you'll get to see that this is not a perfect instant process to get to. What'd you say? Studio time? Tuck your tail in. So I'm just going to record the process. I'm going to leave this camera on as well as filming with the other cameras, and see how long it takes for me to get into that kind of warmed up flow state. I think I'm going to be using the Roadmaster Fibonacci as it's got nice big frets and this kind of thing is pretty comfortable on it. Other stuff, I'm going to be using a Stylus RMX drum loop loaded into the Boss RC600, just so I can with my feet quickly start, stop and tap, change the tempo. We won't be doing it that quick. Okay then, madam, shall we get started? I will have to move you if this proves to be not good for my technique. Or you start chewing the strings. That's not recording, is it? You just stay on the chair a second. Right, budge up. Hey everyone, David Beebe here. Welcome back to my guitar channel. I'm still experimenting with different styles of YouTube videos, so depending on how the edit goes for this, you should in theory have already seen the actual exercise executed properly and the whole intro explaining what this video is about. and some of a practice session of me warming up to it. So what we're going to do here is just jump right into actually teaching the exercise, breaking it down. Now, of course, as the title of the video suggests, this is an exercise. This is not meant to sound musical. This is just a bit of an exercise and a rudiment challenge to really work on some fundamentals of your technique and time feel. However, you can make it more musical, and that's what we'll attempt to do a little bit later on, and to see and show the musical applications for having control of this kind of technique. Now, the second reason this is brutal is because I'm forcing this upon myself, is to extend this idea of not having any anchored fingers down with my hammer-ons and pull-offs, trying to make each one an individual button press. And so this goes back to the idea of having a lazy first finger, this idea that Tom Quayle put forward in a video about 18 months, 2 years ago. And I've really been hammering, to use the pun, this in my own practice and exercise time, and it's something I've been working on to try to iron out any element of anchoring within the left hand and to develop super control over these individual digits. So you could approach this exercise without that aspect to it, and it might actually be a little easier. But part of the challenge that I'm sort of laying down here is that you attempt the exercise and you try to do it with this Holdsworthian or Quaylian or whatever you want to call it, this idea of each finger is a note is a button press, an individual hammer on and pull off, without relying upon any of the other fingers for support, like this, going not and holding them down, but with the hammer-ons and then even the pull-offs, it's like you are pulling off and hammering at the same time. You're not holding them down and doing that. For this kind of playing, for this very sort of to the grid, in time, really precise time feel, I do think that it adds a lot more precision to your time feel and execution, and it actually relieves a lot of tension as well in the hand. When you get this right and you're warmed up in flow state, it's definitely, there's less tension and there's more accuracy and a very specific articulation to these subdivisions. So the notes that we're playing here, it's dead easy and it's completely non-musical. It's literally just playing chromatically on the high E string, then chromatically on the B string, then chromatically on the G string, keeping it in this fifth position. So we're going to play high E8, pull off to 7, pull off to 6, pull off to 5. Now I'm going on to the B string, and before I've even got there, my pick is resting on the B string itself, ready to do an upstroke. Now I'm going to do the same on the B string. And then my pick has already gone to the G string, resting, to pre-prepared, and then pulling off on the G string like that. And then you just reverse it so it comes up with hammer-ons. And now whilst I'm doing the hammer-ons on the G string, my middle finger has gone down to prepare on the B. Hybrid that, and the middle finger jumps down to the high E string as I do the hammer-ons on the B. Then do the hybrid on the E string, do the hammer-ons on the E, and as I go on to do these hammer-ons on the high E string, I'm now tucking the pick on the underside of the B string, so it's ready for the next repetition. And then it just rolls round and round. So those are the notes, and you're doing this for 4 bars. So you have to also, what makes it tricky is counting and knowing where you are within each bar and how many bars you've done. So we're doing 4 bars of this this cycle of notes, and then we're stopping on the first beat of the 5th bar. I'm going to show you very slowly and break it down in just a moment. So I'll just play it through, just one repetition. So those are the notes that we're playing. Now, how are we feeling them? How are we counting them? Now, this is where it starts to get tricky. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. So we've got these 6 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Now here is the next downbeat, the next beat in the bar. Then we're going to go on from there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Here's the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. So we're trying to program in these 6 notes at a time, much like we did in a previous exercise or previous lick, I think a couple of months ago. So we're going to kind of build this up in stages, sort of 6 notes at a time. And this one's even more important than on that previous lick that we looked at, because you really got to remember which finger is going to hit the downbeat each time. So you'll have to very slowly kind of map this through, sort of almost tapping your foot as well, maybe, like going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. So as always, I'm going to put on the drum beat and just do it at half speed and really kind of focus on this very intently. So what the tempo have I got here? That's 100. I'm going to put that down to 90 and do it at half speed on 90. So yeah, that's good. So now, as I say, you've got to count through and know how many beats you've done so you can count the bars and stop and start in the right place. So let me try and do this at a very slow tempo, but with 16th triplets, so we can feel and count the right number of bars that we're going to be doing, so we know where we're going to start and stop on which finger and which string and fret. Okay, so I'm going to try and say the bar numbers, count the bars as I play it, and see if this works. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, a little bit lumpy trying to say that out loud, but the timing of the bar and counting of the bars was correct, I think. So what we're going to do is, when we're starting on the pinky finger and we do 4 bars and stop on beat 1 of the 5th bar, we'll be finishing on the pinky finger, but not on the high E string 8th fret. It will be on the 8th fret, but on the G string. So I'll do that one more time and see if I can get it a bit more in time. In fact, let me just do this quicker and see if it's any easier when I do it quicker. One, 2, 3, 4, 1. Try and tap my foot with it. Let's do this. Yeah. Interestingly, my hands are getting cooler again. Should have made more coffee. So at this point we want to push it further and practice it not just starting from the pinky finger, but from each of the other fingers on the downbeat of beat 1. And this is going to vastly change how it feels. So it's not really good enough to just work on it from one place, one finger, because you're going to build a very rigid set exercise that you can't manipulate in other contexts. We want to learn what it feels like to do this subdivision with this many notes per string from each starting point and on each beat of the bar. So the nice thing about this is that it just shifts down. Your start finger and end finger just shifts down 1 fret. So we started on the 8th fret high E string, and then we finished 4 bars later on beat 1 of bar 5 on the G string on the 8th fret with the pinky finger. So if we start now on the 3rd finger, we should finish on the 3rd finger on the G string fret 7. And this gives you, again, something to aim for, to know whether you're sort of doing this right or not. So let's just build it up slowly again to start with. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. So now the 1 of the next beat is going to fall on a finger down, so on this note. And again, this is something to aim for to help just space out the notes and get the timing correct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. And I would even just do that. Because for me, I find that it's like starting this off is the hardest part. Once I'm going within this kind of a technique and this feel and subdivision and the number of notes per string, it's sort of self-sustaining, but the very first beat is the one where the timing in the subdivision is the most chance of going lumpy and out of time. So next we've got, so this will be beat 1 and the next one, and so on and so on. And you can, I'm not going to show you every permutation from each finger here, but hopefully you get the idea. I will actually tab all this out in the PDF file, so you will get each permutation if you want to follow it through. But this is the next step that you would do to build this. So if I try and demonstrate it, and this is where, well, I might take the tempo down to just under 100 and see if I can do this. Probably can't. Stopped in the right place, but the beginning wasn't quite right. That was right. Again, stopped in the right place and just a little bit better. And then you could take it down to finger 2, so now starting on the middle finger. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. This is going to shift the downbeat back to falling on the middle finger and finger 2 and the pinky finger, finger 4 again. But just because it's the same, it still feels very different to do this. In fact, I find this one generally a little bit easier. And then of course you can do it from the index finger, and this is probably the hardest one because you have the immediate string change. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. And this is going to put the downbeat back on the index finger and the third finger. But once more, it will feel differently to when it was on these 2 fingers previously. So let's see if we can do this one. Now, a couple of things before we move on to taking this a stage further. You could do it from now the B string as your starting point from each finger again, and then the G string as your starting point. And I recommend, why not be exhaustive and actually do all that? I'm not going to do that here. It's just going to be go on for too long. Okay, so let's go on and talk about ways we can make this perhaps a little bit more musical. Because right now, of course, it's just not very musical at all. It's just a pure exercise. And what we can do is, by shifting it and changing things ever so slightly, but we can utilize this newfound technique, this developing technique, to incorporate into more musical type ideas and lines. So the first thing that we're going to do, or what you could do, is make it purely chromatic. So instead of just doing it on these adjacent strings, purely for the physical comfort, what you could do is shift it . So you're actually making it properly chromatic. The other thing I'd recommend you do is fill in the gaps or glue the cracks between any kind of diatonic scale. Now this is a crude form of chromaticism, but it works really well, as I've said before, when you're trying to keep a flow of a line going and add some sort of chromatic interest within a long flowing line of this subdivision. So one way to sort of do this to start with would be to say, take a G major scale, sort of like a standard kind of 3-note per string thing, and wherever there's a gap and you can comfortably fill in on one string, so you can make it 4 notes on the string, do it. So go. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. So if we do that in time. Tying that into what we've been doing, we could take these top 3 strings of that scale, so then it would give us sort of G major, starting on the 3rd there on the B, and we could just fill in those chromatic gaps. And this is going to give you the similar kind of thing to what we had before, but it's going to fit the sort of this tonality perhaps a little bit better, although it's chromatically weird anyway, but hopefully get the idea. And it's also going to incorporate this now shift. So this is going to make it technically even more demanding and challenging because we're not just in one position here, we've now got to compress and expand back to fret 4. So I'm compressed back in here and then expand out to get down to fret 4 like that. And over time, by developing and building control over this kind of a technique and this kind of subdivision and note groupings, you'll be able to incorporate it into your lines and either written or improvised. So what we're trying to do here is take this non-musical exercise and mine from it these skills and this control that we can then put into more musical scenarios later on with be it our written lines or improvisation. Now, this is a long process. I've been working on this quite some time and only just seeing some of the benefits paying off from it. So I do hope that was interesting. Let me know what you think of the format in terms of just kind of peering behind the curtain a little bit more. If you have got something useful out of this video, then maybe consider leaving it a like, subscribing to the channel and ringing that bell to be notified of when I post new content. Thanks very much for watching, and until the next one, bye bye. Actually didn't feel too bad, all things considered. What's that, 88, 89. The hardest thing I find about this and warming up into it is the first 6 notes. So it's the timing between the little finger and the third finger. And because I'm trying to do them individually, because I'm trying to go as opposed to holding them on and pulling off in a more kind of traditional way, with the hand arched, it's super tricky and really trying to build that control over these middle 2 fingers. So I'm aiming, ultimately I think what I'm doing there, and I'll teach this in the breakdown more properly, is that I'm aiming for that. Oh, she was in tune then with that. What was that note, Lois? Give us another meow. Was it C? So I'm aiming to land on that second finger on that F note on the beat, on the next downbeat. And if I can focus on that, it sort of steadies the timing. Really aim for that. That was rushed. That was late. Yeah, so I can already start to feel my hands warming up much quicker than I was expecting, to be honest. Could have been all the faffing around with Lois, getting her in the bag and coming over here, and the coffee might help as well. Sit down. Why don't you sit to the side? make this easy, do you? Muted legato. See, it's frustrating that it takes this long to get to this state. I don't know whether that's, I don't know what that is, but we're at 100, 101 now, 102. I think that's where it starts. I can get it really comfortable and bang on in time at sort of 105. As it starts to get to 110 BPM, I can't really totally get this locked down, or it's rarer for me to get to that point. Yeah, not too bad, I guess. We'll see on the playback. So yeah, I think any further than that, it's going to become. It actually starts to sound less impressive and less intelligible, even if you played it absolutely perfectly. It starts to become so much of a textural blur that I think much beyond 115, 120, it would be not particularly interesting anyway. Not that this is musically interesting, of course it's not. Okay, right, cool. I think we're just about ready. Let's talk back to this one again. So yeah, I think just about ready and feeling pretty loose, warmed up, and gonna get started actually teaching the lesson. Lois is going back in the box now. She's had a faff around. Hopefully she will stay there and what? So yeah, let's get down to it and shoot the lesson.